Hello, friends, and welcome to the Little Woman podcast. One of my favorite Little Woman people is here. Jimena is joining me to chat about Amy and the chapter Consequences, which is sometimes also known as the art fair chapter. For those who have not read Little Woman, Consequences takes place after chapter Calls. Emily and I talked about chapter Calls earlier this season. You can listen to those episodes for more context. Calls is the chapter where we see how Jo loses the trip to Europe because of her own ignorance. I'm sad to say that, but that was the reason. But hey, it was meant to be. I think Consequences is a wonderful chapter in the way we see how Amy has developed, how she works under stress, and Jo is also quite supportive of her. I have been reading the annotated Little Woman by Daniel Sheely, and here are some anecdotes from this chapter. Quote, in June 1864, Mary Mann, widow of Horace Mann, with the assistance of her sister, Horace Hawthorne, held a fair in Concord in order to help their older sister Elizabeth Palmer Peabody to raise money to construct an orphanage for black children in Washington. Mary Mann wrote to her son, Horace Mann Jr., from Concord in June, quote, it was very pleasant and I think we shall have 300 clear of expenses. Abby, referring to May Alcott, had the table in front of the platform for flowers and took $70. She had an arch over the table, thus to which were suspended shellflower baskets and the hatbirds perched all about. And the table was covered with vases of flowers and her pictures on shells and stones. They were very much admired, and she received innumerable orders for more. She had the old man's on one, Hawthorne's first home in Concord, near the old North Bridge, Mr. Emerson's arbor, and other Concord scenes. End quote. I didn't know that. It looks like this fair was inspired by a real-life event. Doesn't that sound just lovely? Also, painting on shells and stones, even if it's a big stone or a shelf, that's not easy. So May must have been pretty good at painting on different surfaces. I don't think they had acrylic paints back then. Maybe she was using oils? See, I would love to see pictures of May's paintings on stones and seashells. I have done that and it's not easy. It's really not. Moving on, I recently published my first adult coloring book. It is called Cozy Cottagecore Coloring Book. I drew all the illustrations during the pandemic. It is all about baking, country life, books and candles and animals. It's all very cozy. And if you enjoy Little Woman aesthetics, then you might also enjoy my coloring book. You'll find the link from the description. And as always, if you are a fan of the Little Woman podcast, you can join my free newsletter at littlewomanchannel.substack.com and get notified when new episodes appear. This is a Little Woman podcast and Amy at the art fair. Enjoy! Jimena is back with us today and we are going to chat about chapter Consequences. Yes. I've been sick all week, so my voice is lower than usual. So I'm probably going to let you do most of the talking.
Don't worry.
How is life?
Good. It's good. I graduated and now I'm working. So yeah, it's been good.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. How about you?
Next year it will be the 7th season of the Little Woman podcast. That's crazy.
Oh, wow.
Very exciting as well. Amy is probably still your favorite character in Little Woman.
It's hard for me not to love a character who is an artist. I always like them the most. She's still for me my favorite for that and for so many things. I really love what she accomplishes later on in life, what she dedicates her life, like how she is, how confident she is. I wish I was as confident as she is. So yeah, I really love her.
Yeah. When I was reading this chapter again, and I hadn't read it for a while, I was just impressed by her. And that happens a lot with Amy. And I was impressed by Joe as well in the end. So this is one of those chapters where we see the two sisters really coming together.
Yeah, I was also really impressed by both of them. I like you. I hadn't read it in a while. I went to read one of my poetry Tumblr, and I realized I let so many things out that were so important and so special about this chapter. So yeah, I'm so happy to be able to talk about this now. It's an incredible chapter. So many things happen and so many little details that will later play into the overall story. Yeah, it's I think one of the best chapters. It touches so many points, and it never adapted.
That's true. And there are so many Little Woman adaptations, and this one just never gets adapted, the art fairs chapter.
Especially the last part, the ones usually gets to the screen, and it's never properly represented as the book intended to. So, yeah.
We can just start reading chapter 30 from Little Woman, Consequences. And I can start. Mrs. Chester's fare was so very elegant and select that it was considered a great honor by the young ladies of the neighborhood to be invited to take a table, and everyone was much interested in the matter. Amy was asked, but Jo was not, which was fortunate for all parties, as her elbows were decidedly akimbo at this period of her life, and it took a good many hard knocks to teach her how to get on easily. The haughty, uninteresting creature was let severely alone, but Amy's talent and taste were duly complimented by the offer of the art table, and she exerted herself to prepare and secure appropriate and valuable contributions to it. Everything went on smoothly till the day before the fair opened. Then there occurred one of the little skirmishes which is almost impossible to avoid, when some 25 women, old and young, with all their private picks, try to work together. So Amy is invited to participate the fair, but Jo isn't.
One more moment where it's kind of like Alcott is trying to make differences between the girls, and I wouldn't say she put them at odds, but she definitely said Amy is more into society that maybe Jo. It's definitely one of those moments where the girls are they are put how can I say this? Well, I mean, I get the fact that Amy was asked and Jo wasn't. I think in the chapter before, Jo is a little bit irritated by it. I would say that Amy was asked because the aunts were very proud of her, and she wasn't. So yeah, I mean, this also talks about the relationship between the girls, the comparison between them, their social skills.
The previous chapter was the very famous chapter Cause, which also does not get adapted very often. And it's one of those where you see a lot of differences between Amy and Jo, but also quite a bit of similarities between the two.
Because in that chapter, they say that the fair is a charitable event for the freedmen. I actually thought that was actually very interesting to include that this is the kind of activity that upper class or middle upper class women would get involved in.
Oh yeah, so yeah. I assume that the Chester family is upper class, and Mrs. Chester is one of those people who is organizing this fair. Amy probably gets invited because Amy is she wants to be a lady. I would assume that Jo has a bit of a reputation in the town for, hanging out with the boys and being more rowdy.
It's also, one of the chapters where you see how much she's grown from the 12-year-old that a lot of people condemned her for burning Jo's book, and now she has managed to grow and have this reputation where she might not be wealthy at all, actually, to fit into the upper class society, but she still had the reputation of being a very well-behaved woman, young woman. So she gets into this event. So Winchester was rather jealous of Amy because the latter was a greater favorite than herself, and just at this time, several trifling circumstances occurred to increase the feeling. Amy's dainty pen and ink work entirely eclipsed May's painted vases. That was one thorn. Then the all-conquering tutor had danced 4 times with Amy at the lake party and only once with May. That was thorn number 2. But the chief grievance that rankled in her soul and gave an excuse to her unfriendly conduct was a rumor which some obliging gossip had whispered to her that the March girls had made fun of her at the lab. All the blame of this should have fallen upon Jo, for her naughty imitation had been too lifelike to escape detection, and the frolicsome lamp had permitted the joke to escape. No hint of this had reached the culprits, however, and Amy's dismay can be imagined when the very evening before the fair, as she was putting the last touches to her pretty table, Mrs. Chester, who of course resented the cold ridicule of her daughter, said in a bland tone, with a cold look, "I find, dear, that there is some feeling among the young ladies about my giving this table to anyone but my girl. And this is the most prominent, and some say the most attractive table of all, and they are the chief eaters of the fair. It is thought best for them to take this place. I'm sorry, but I know you are too sincerely interested in the cause to mind a little personal disappointment, and you shall have another table if you like."
I don't really like Mrs. Chest.
No. I mean, when I was reading it, I think I understand why she would be so angry that her daughter that got ridiculed. But yeah, I mean, I can't blame her for that. I still think that what she did was not fair for Amy, because obviously that first two things, the thing that May was jealous of Amy's work, and that she was also jealous of the attention that she got from one of the boys. That was also part of it. I don't know. I mean, I would also be angry if my daughters would be ridiculed.
I feel like, parents don't know everything that is going on, especially if May has been, picking on others. So she might just think that, oh, they make fun of my daughter, but then she doesn't know that, oh, she has been picking on other girls. Or maybe she doesn't care if she has been picking on others.
Yeah, maybe, she could have ignored her daughter's behavior. We don't know. This is also another moment where called back to the previous chapter where we see Jo behaving. She's making fun of these girls in someone else's house, and Amy in that chapter, Amy is very embarrassed of her because she can't get her to behave, and so Amy ends up paying the consequences for her action. It's another moment between Jo and Amy where Jo's behavior ends up causing trouble.
And it's almost like she takes revenge on the other sister, not the culprit.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, Mrs. Chester didn't know. Yeah, this is not just a moment where Jo was actually me where she did that. So it is something reprehensible. She could have talked to Marmee instead of punishing Amy. I don't know.
Yeah, that was my first thought. I think this is something that happens all the time in life with people nowadays as well. It's very common, sadly.
Yes, and I think May also, this jealousy over how many times a boy dances with Amy. Amy, I think in a way, she doesn't have much to offer about herself, and she knows that, and everybody knows that. So the fact that she is the favorite over more wealthy girls who might be more beneficial in the marriage might play into this jealousy.
You're correct.
Yeah, I don't know. I think clash is definitely something that Amy usually talks about, and definitely she sees the struggle between the difference between her possibilities and the other curves.
And that's also interesting because this is some kind of a prince, this person who she's dancing with. Then the all-conquering Tudor had danced 4 times with Amy at the late party and only once with May. So, I mean, if there's this desire for example, Miss Chester, that her daughter would marry a prince, so that might be behind it. There are actually quite a few references to royals when it comes to Amy in Little Woman. She has admiration for British royalty.
Yeah, definitely, and like she gets the attention back. I remember when I think in the next chapter where she's talking about when she's in Europe and she's like, I think a Polish noble or aristocrat got her attention. She didn't like him. I don't think so. I was just amused by the attention. But yeah, I mean, she does get that even though, I mean, I think it's everyone in the town, and it should be clear in Europe that she doesn't have the means to offer a very advantageous match. Yeah, but Tudor, I think Tudor is mentioned a couple of times more that he's around Amy, and I think he liked her. But yeah, for me, I mean, I think she wanted him for herself. So I don't know. It might have kind of she got him.
It could be an alternative Little Woman universe where Amy marries a royal.
Yeah, she would be great.
Queen Amy, yeah. Why I don't have troubles imagining that. I think it fit her character very well. Well, but Lawrence's were sort of royals in Concord anyway.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think I don't know if it was very like specified, but I do think that they are one of the most, if not the wealthiest family in the town, and Amy does achieve that the kind of influence that she always wanted.
Mrs. Chester had fancied beforehand that it would be easy to deliver this little speech, but when the time came she found it rather difficult to utter it naturally, with Amy's unsuspicious eyes looking straight at her, full of surprise and trouble. Amy felt that there was something behind this, but could not guess what, and said quietly, feeling heard and showing that she did, "Perhaps you had rather I took no table at all." "No, my dear, don't have any ill feeling, I beg. It is merely a matter of expediency. You see, my girls will naturally take the lead, and this table is considered their proper place. I think it very appropriate to you, and feel very grateful for your efforts to make it so pretty. But we must give up our private wishes, of course, and so I will see that you have a good place elsewhere. Wouldn't you like the flower table? The little girls undertook it, but they are discouraged. You could make a charming thing of it, and the flower table is always attractive, you know." "Especially the gentleman," added May, with a look which enlightened Amy as to one cause of her sudden fall from favour. She coloured angrily, but took no utter notice of that girlish sarcasm, and answered with unexpected amiability, "It shall be as you please, Miss Chester. I'll give up my place here at once, and attend to the flowers if you like." "You can put your own things on your own table if you prefer," began May, feeling a little conscience-stricken as she looked at the pretty racks, the painted shells and quaint illuminations Amy had so carefully made and gracefully arranged. She meant it kindly, but Amy mistook her meaning and said quickly, "Oh, certainly, if they are in your way," and sweeping her contributions into her apron, pell-mell, she walked off, feeling that herself and her works of art had been insulted past forgiveness. "Now she's mad, oh dear, I wish I hadn't asked you to speak, mamma," said May, looking disconsolately at the empty spaces on her table. "Girls, quarrels are soon over," returned her mother, feeling a trifle ashamed of her own part in this one, as well she might. Poor Amy.
Yeah, I mean, at least I think she defended herself. She defended her thing. yeah, I mean, they were really pretty, pretty rushed, painted shells, quainted illuminations. I mean, I think it must have took her quite some time to arrange all of these. And yeah, it must feel really disheartening and mean to say that she can't tend to the table that she earned.
And it's sort of what you said about the class. I mean, that's true because they can basically bossy her around just because they are upper class. It's really sad.
I mean, this power that that the Chester have over her because it's the fair organized by Mrs. Chester. I mean, there's little Amy can do without sounding pretentious or not pretentious, but sounding like she wants to be the boss there. And why would she if she's only contributing with her thing? She's not giving any money. She's just there to tend the tables. Yeah, this moment about class, the difference, and how Amy tries to navigate through that, knowing fully well that she can cash. I think if it's this chapter, we'll see. But I think in the last chapter, she also said something about, we are poor and we don't have because we are poor, we don't have the ability to tell off someone. So yeah, I think this is one of those moments where she might appear like she's giving up or that she's just taking it meekly, but I mean, just leadership grab down. She could have done. I think even Marmee could have done something about it. So it's unfortunate, but yeah, it's an abuse of power, basically, what is happening here. So yeah, but May is really angry about Tudor, because she said, special to gentlemen. Like I think I don't know if this is something that all other girls feel about Amy, but yeah, the fact that she received so much attention, and in a way, it's understandable because all these girls are trying to get married, and or if they don't at that moment because maybe they are too young, they will, and so it must be very hard to see that all the attention goes to just one girl and they stay in the sidelines. I mean, like Kelly repass for May, but she's still for Amy. Yeah, she goes to the flower table. I like that it said, she's determined to succeed thoroughly if she could not artistically. Like, I mean, she's trying to make the best of the situation, at least.
Yeah.
I think that's something that's also a characteristic of Amy. She knows if she has little, at least she's gonna do it the best as she can.
Yeah, I would imagine that she's boiling inside. She's really angry, but then she calms herself down.
I think that's also, I mean, we'll see in the chapter follows, but yeah, that how she has learned to, after this horrible moment where she burned Joe's book, she has really taken steps to control her anger, to control her feelings, and to not let that get set of her. And I think this is one of the chapters where you can see that if you compare how she acted in the chapter of the book and how she's acting here, you can see how much she has evolved. It shall be as you please, Mrs. Chester. I'll give up my place here at once and attend to the flowers if you like. Now she's mad, oh dear. I wish I hadn't asked to speak, Mamma, said May, looking disconsolately at the empty spaces on her table. Girls' quarrels are soon over, returned her mother, feeling a triple ashamed of her own part in this one as well as she might. The little girls hailed Amy and her treasures with delight, which cordial reception somewhat soothed perturbed spirit, and she fell to work, determined to succeed florally if she could not artistically. But everything seemed against her. It was late, and she was tired. Everyone was too busy with their own affairs to help her, and all the little girls were only hindrances for the bigger disputes and chatter like so many magpies, making a great deal of confusion in their artless effort to preserve the most perfect order. The evergreen arch wouldn't stay pure after she got it up, but wiggled and threatened to tumble down on her head when the hanging baskets were filled. Her best style got a splash of water, which left a sepia tear on the cupid's cheek. She bruised her hand with hammering and got caught working in the trap. which last affliction filled her with apprehension to the morrow. Any girl reader who has suffered like afflictions will sympathize with poor Amy and wish her well through her task. There was great indignation at home when she told her story that evening. Her mother said it was a shame, but told her she had done right. Beth declared she wouldn't go to the fair at all, and Joe demanded why she didn't take all the pretty things and leave those mean people to get on without her. Because they're mean is no reason why I should be. I hate such things, and though I think that's a right to be hurt, I don't intend to show it. They will feel that more than angry speeches or happy actions. One day, Marmee. That's right spirit, my dear. A kiss for a blow is always best, though it's not very easy to eat it sometimes, said her mother, with the air of one who had learned difference between preaching and practicing.
I quite like that she has this philosophy that she's going to kill them with kindness.
Yes, and I think this is one of the moments when I was reading, I was like, I think Little Women is it's often seen as preachy, and as like it trying to infuse all these moral lessons. And what I like about this is that Amy, like we said, she's definitely angry. She's definitely boiling inside, but she has the determination that she's not gonna let that. She's not gonna let that ruin her experience, or it's not gonna let it that get the worst of her. And she's trying to be the better person, which is so difficult. It's so difficult, but she's trying because that's what the family has taught her, and it's what she knows it's what's right. And Marmee even said, "Yeah, I mean, a kiss for a blow is always best. It's very difficult to do that." Yeah, and what I like is that they acknowledge that it's not an easy thing to do.
Yes, that's true. And I think Little Woman is very fascinating in that sense because you see very different way to people react into hardships. Because if this was something that happened to Joe, she would say some insults. Or when it's Amy, it's very different. And if it would be Beth, she would run away. And
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, Beth said she wouldn't have gone at all. Joe said like I would have just let and leave all of those people. It's like, well, yes. I mean, yeah, that's the minimum that I would expect Joe to do. But Amy doesn't. Amy, I think she's very conscious that although this is important, this is just one moment in her life, one moment that she's gonna have be in society and deal with it. And it's not worth it to ruin all the hard work that she has done just for an art table. Yeah, so she's very mature in this sense. I mean, yeah, she really has grown as a person. I don't know if it was. I think it was obviously that she has worked hard to be a better person, following her parents' teaching, but I think it's also like a large influence too that also helped for her to behave better in society.
sometimes it takes mistakes or mishaps that you just regret. Then you just want to be a better person.
Yes, and I think the moment where she hurt Joe so much that with the book, like that is her lowest point. Like that's really she reached her lowest point at 12 years old, and that with Beth's illness, it really made her take consciousness of her faults, and she's been working on that, which I think is very admirable. Not a lot of people have that ability of inspection and to say like, oh, I've really messed up. I want to be better. And at 12 years old, that's actually quite remarkable.
I don't think it was all Amy's fault, the book burning, because Joe was really mean to her when it happened.
To talk a little bit about that chapter, I mean, I think when Marmee talks to Joe about her anger issues, obviously, I mean, the focus of the chapter is on Joe. But I would have hoped that she also went to Amy and said, like, you need to control your anger too, because you just did something really bad. And I know some people say, oh, it wasn't a good book anyway. Like it was just the ramblings of a teenager, but it was still important to her. So yeah, I think holding both girls accountable to understand that they need to stop. They need to stop treating each other like that. It takes two person, like you say, it takes two person to do that.
And then when we go to chapter calls, in the second part, this few years have gone between two parts. In chapter calls, I think the narrator said that when Amy and Joe realized that they were arguing, they would start laughing when they, this is kind of stupid. They realize that it's not worth it. And it's true. It's not worth to fight.
Yeah, definitely. I think they definitely have worked on that. I think both like individually, but I don't know, maybe like they at some point, yeah, they both decided to probably after Amy almost dies, that they decided to stop with that behavior because yeah, like you said, I mean, Joe also was pretty mean to her. And I think the only adaptation where I see that is in the 2018 modern adaptation.
I agree with that, yes.
Yes, when at the beginning, I think they're playing the Laurie to adapt, and Amy, she gets distracted. She sees a pretty thing or something like that, and she gets distracted. She loses, and Joe is very mean to her. She doesn't want to let her into the attic. And yeah, I think that's the only adaptation where I see her like being truly portrayed as being cruel to her.
Yeah.
That it kind of like accumulates until it explodes when she can go with the girls with Laurie.
Yeah, I think in most adaptations, they kind of portray Amy as a villain. Then in the 2018, it's much more nuanced. It's like, oh, they both make mistakes. They both hurt each other. That's much more closer to the novel.
Yeah, definitely. And you also have that it's an actual girl who's playing Amy. So it's like a 20-year-old or 25-year-old acting childish. As much as I love Florence Pugh, I really love her. There's no way she could have played a 12-year-old. It's wrong. There's something odd in that performance. So I'm sure she did her best.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem. Every Little Woman adaptation, pretty much. And there's only two where there's like 12-year-old playing Amy, and it's not that hard to hire a child actress. But anyway.
No, it really is. Yeah, I think the problem is when more concerned about the fame or the box office of your film than the actual story that you are telling. Then that's where you end up asking an adult to behave like a 12-year-old.
Even when I think about the earlier versions, like 1949, 1936, and then they switched Beth and Amy, the actor's age. They don't include the chapter where, Amy burns Joe's book. And it would be quite bad also if they did, because they have swapped the ages. But like, I think it works better in that way, that it's not even included, and then they include something else from the book, because it just wouldn't work like thematically when it's an older actress playing Amy.
No, definitely. Also, like, I think it's the one where Elizabeth Taylor plays Amy, which I'm like, I think that is the one who doesn't have the book burning. But when I watched that, it's like, you don't need it. They made such the villain of Amy. I'm like, you don't need to show her burning the book. You're gonna hate her anyway. She's so selfish, so self-absorbed that I was like, no, I'm so mad that she was played by Elizabeth Taylor. They didn't do a good job with her.
I like her when she's an adult, but then they just make her a bit of a fool when she's supposed to be a teenager. It just doesn't make any sense to me. She's better in the 1933 film, and the actor is a lot more adult even when she's a teenager. But yeah, 1949, it's a mixed bag. As a John Fritz shipper, I love it, but then as an Amy and Laurie fan, I hate it.
1949 is such a good Joe Fritz adaptation. That was so beautiful. There's I think that where they say like Joe takes it so maturely when Fritz criticizes her work. Like why can we? Why can the adaptation do this, Fritz?
In spite of various very natural adaptations to resent and retaliate, Amy adhered to her resolution all the next day, bent on conquering her enemy by kindness. She began well, thanks to a silent reminder that came to her unexpectedly but most opportunely. As she arranged her table that morning while the little girls were in anteroom filling the baskets, she took up her pet production, a little book, the antique cover of which her father had found among his treasures, and in which, on leaves of vellum, she had beautifully illuminated different texts. As she turned the pages, rich in dainty devices, with very pardonable pride, her eye fell upon one verse that made her stop and think. Framed in a brilliant scrollwork of scarlet, blue, and gold, with the little spirits of goodwill helping one another up and down among the thorns and flowers, were the words, "Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself." I ought, but I don't, thought Amy, as her eye went from the bright page to May's discontented face behind big vases that could not hide the vacancies her pretty work had once filled. Amy stood a minute, turning the leaves in her hand, reading on each some sweet rebuke for all heart-burnings and uncharitableness of spirit. Many wise and true sermons are preached us every day by unconscious ministers, in streets, school, office, or home. Even a fair table may become a pulpit if it can offer the good and helpful words which are never out of season. Amy's conscience preached her a little sermon from that text. Then and there, and she did what many of us don't always do, took the sermon to her heart and straightway put it in practice. A group of girls were standing about May's table, admiring the pretty things and talking over the change of saleswoman. They dropped their voices, but Amy knew they were speaking of her. Hearing one side of the story and judging accordingly, it was not pleasant, but the better spirit had come over her, and presently a chance offered for proving it. She heard May say sorrowfully, "It is too bad, for there is no time to make other things, and I don't want to fill with odds and ends. The table was just complete then. Now it's spoiled." "I dare say she'd put them back if you asked her," suggested someone. "How could I after the fuss?" began May, but she did not finish, for Amy's voice came across the hall saying pleasantly, "You may have them, and welcome without asking, if you want them. I was just thinking I'd offer to put them back, for they belong to your table rather than mine. Here they are. Please take them, and forgive me if I was hasty in carrying them away last night." She is cheeky now, but it comes from a good place.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think this is one of the best parts of the chapter, um, where you see how Amy struggles with this idea of being kind, but also like, why would I if they were mean to me? And that's very human. That's that's fair for her to not feel that rush of kindness just because she's been taught to be so. In the end, she's the one who got hurt, so she knows she has the right to be angry and to take her things. But yeah, I love that she has this moment of where she says I ought but I don't. She doesn't want to love May, and it's fair. I think it's very fair. And it's also, the narrator tells us, this is a moment of where Amy does something admirable. Not a lot of people have the strength to do what she did. So yeah, it's a very good moment for her. before she struggled with it. Yeah.
And I have a feeling that May is now having a guilty conscience.
Yeah, I think a lot of characters in this chapter deal with that. Even the mother was like, once she was telling Amy that she couldn't have the art table, she regretted her actions, and Amy also regret something, and May also is. I mean, it worked in the end. That this idea that Amy wanted to kill her enemy with kindness, because it did put May on the spot and say, like, you were unkind to me, but now I'm being kind to you. So, like, now it's your problem if you want to keep being unkind. And so, yeah, I mean, it worked. I think it's hard. It was hard. It did give May a moment to feel bad about herself and reflect on what she shouldn't have done.
That Bible verse, I think that's something that everyone struggles sometimes. Christian or not.
Yeah. But also, it's kind of like, this is one of the books that she illuminated. This phrase was in her mind for a long time because she decorated it and she wrote it. So it was over and over and over. She was reading it. It's not just something that she read for the first time. Like, yeah, sure, I'm gonna do that. It is something that her parents have been teaching her. She's been reading about it. She cares about this phrase, otherwise she wouldn't have done so much effort, so much work to eliminate it. So yeah, I mean, this is not her behavior that didn't just came up out of nothing. This is just the result of a lot of work, also of her parents. So yeah, this is also speaking very well about Beth, how they are raising these girls. Yeah, and also like the difference between the March family and other people that they all call themselves Christians and good Christians, and they want to do charity and everything. But how many of them would have done this? How many of them would have take the actual Bible versicle and say, "Yeah, I'm gonna follow this, even though I've been wrong."
That's a good point. Yeah. I think when your father is a pastor and your mother is a social worker, there are certain things in your upbringing that always are in the back of your head, back of your mind.
The girls could have been sick of it and say, like, I'm not gonna follow it. But instead they took the teachings, and also it helped, the kind of parenting that they got. They weren't forced to do anything. They weren't like preach endlessly every single day. They were actually the March parents were actually very good, and in previous chapters, Marmee tries to teach the girls lessons without actually being there, like forcing them to read the Bible or forcing them to read this or that. Like she's just trying to give them values that she thinks is important, and the girls are responding to that. So yeah, it's really nice to.
That was the chat between Jimena and me. Thank you so much for listening. I will see you next time. Take care, make good choices. Bye.